And we should be live. I'll just wait for everyone to connect, and I'll just check that you can hear me and see me. And welcome, Catherine. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me properly. So we've got about 11 minutes before to start. If any of you were watching this on replay, if you wanted to skip and go straight into the tour, you could skip the next 11 minutes. Oh no, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. Might be kicked out of here. I don't think I'm allowed to be here. I'll tell you in a moment once everyone is here. I had a bit of an adventure. You can hear and see. Perfect, Julie. Thank you. I'm Marilyn. Welcome, everyone. So we've got about 15 minutes. We're just waiting for everyone to connect. As you can see, I've got two little friends here. So we've got, we are a bit early. We've got about 15 minutes to go. Let us know in the chat where you're tuning from. We still have time to get to know each other. Hi Tish, nice to see you here. Yes, pretty friends. One came to say hello earlier. I don't know if I'm meant to be touching them because I don't think I should be here. I was desperately trying to reach a building called Ham House. Sadly, so the river was completely flooded. It's gone down quite quickly. Not on the riverside. On the riverside it was over my bum. So I tried to look for another way, and I don't think I mean, the building is just there, but I don't think I can cross that because I don't mind going into water, but this is water on horse poo, so I'll just I'll show you a photo of Ham House. Hi down, hi Tish. I've seen you, Tish. Let me see what time it is. Hi down. Let me show you my little friends from a bit closer. We might even get lost because I'm not even too sure how I got here in the first place. Southern Ontario, nice. Oh, Richmond is a bus ride away from you. Cool. It's about an hour cycle for me. So it's gonna be a long hour tonight because I'm so soaked. I've been stepping literally into the river, so my shoes are soaked, and I can't really take the train with the bicycle before 7:30, so I'll have to cycle it anyway. But hey ho, we'll survive. So as you can see, this is the river coming all the way. It's completely flooded in Richmond today. But the maximum tide was about 4:30, so I think it's on the way down. Anyway, I'm gonna make a move because I'm not sure I should be here. I did go over a little fence, so let's make a move. We'll start officially at 5, but let's get out of here. I was just desperately trying to reach a beautiful building, and I accidentally reached their stables, but not Ham House. So I'll show you a photo instead. Hi Linda, hi Herbie, nice to see you here. So we've got about 10 minutes to go. So if any of you wanted to skip the hellos and go straight into the tour, you're more than welcome to. I mean, if you're watching the replay in the future. How did I get here? Did I come this way? Oh, this way. And see, I've got to cross a bit of the Thames still. We're actually many meters away from the river, but it's all flooded. I don't know why, because it's not rained today, but I guess it's just a very high tide. The River Thames. Oh, look in what I'm stepping. It's okay. I was already soaked anyway because I tried to go down the other way earlier, but after the water reached my bum, I thought that's too much. I was very determined to show you Ham House because it's Halloween coming up, and it's the most haunted building on the National Trust. But it's fine. I'll show you a photo instead. Hi Suzanne, welcome everyone that just joined. I'm having one of those fantastic days, you know, the type of days when I wish I was just a normal YouTuber, you know, doing videos. Because sometimes with those lives, you spend hours and hours preparing the tour, and then everything goes pear-shaped. I've been here walking around since 12:30, really. Still a bit flooded this way. So yeah, I got into town 12:30 to rewalk my route, and the signal was terrible, and I was just going from one pavement to the next, trying to find a decent signal. That's the thing when doing tours at daytime in London. You never know what you're gonna find in terms of signal, because you don't know how busy it's gonna be and how many people are gonna be on the internet. So that's why I much prefer to do tours at night. So I've had to change my route like 3 times to find a okay-ish signal. Hi Martin, hi Marilyn. And I'm still not sure we'll have a decent signal, but hey ho, we'll do what we've got to do. Let me see, 10 minutes to go. So again, if any of you were watching this on replay in the next few days or months, we're just chatting away. In 10 minutes, we'll officially start. Denton, Texas. That's nice. Oops. Sorry, it's very slippery. I need to take it slow because I'm still stepping on. My shoes are gonna go straight into the washing machine. And all of that for nothing because I did not get to Ham House. But hey ho. I wish I could. I hoped that'd be cool if the river had gone down a bit and I could take you to the riverside. But otherwise, we'll go and see the cows. We're quite close to a big German school. There's a big German community here in Richmond. It's okay, Tish, it's okay. We'll survive. Look at that. This is the river is not far behind those things, but this is all wet. My feet must be, not cold yet because it's quite warm, but soggy. Yes, I've got a mini swimming pool in each of my shoes. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why I even tried. I could have just skipped. I could have just started elsewhere and shown you a photo of Ham House. That's exactly what I'm going to do at the end. But I'm quite determined sometimes. And I definitely did not want to cancel because I don't like to cancel any tours. And on top of that, I actually rejected work to be able to do the tour, so I don't want to cancel. Look, we're quite close. So the footpath where I wanted to take you, originally, it's just, excuse my finger, but it's just there. But it's still way too flooded. I think this is still above my knees. You know what? I'm so soaked, I could even try. Oh, a cyclist. Let's see how wet he is. It doesn't seem. You know what? Let's try. We never know. We've got 10 minutes anyway, and no, I'm not gonna be able to cross that. I think it's a bit better after the. Welcome, Anne. No, I don't think I can. I'm already almost on my knees now. I'm already... Oh well, never mind. No riverfront for us today. This would be spooky at night. Oh yes, but there's no light at night, so I didn't... The very reason why I did the tour at daytime, it's because I wanted to show you Ham House. Otherwise, I would have done it in the evening and shown you a few murder locations up on the terrace. But hey ho, no Ham House for you today, but I'll tell you the stories anyway. I'll show you a photo. Oh yeah, that's why I thought I was not meant to be here, because this looks private, doesn't it? Anyway, let's go over this. Oops. Close your eyes so you've not seen me do this. There we go. Now it's still a bit wet over here. So 45 minutes ago, when I tried to come for the first time, I was actually climbing on the well, actually I might have a photo. Let me show you the photo. There we go. So 45 minutes ago, where is it? It was like this, all soaked. So you can see how quickly the tide comes out. But still I had to... I shouldn't show you too many photos. I'm really scared of the bug, you know, the little bug that... oh, hold on, I'm carrying a big string of something. Bear with me 1 sec. That thing was attached to my shoe. There we go. Welcome everyone that just joined. We've not quite started yet. I'm just showing you my adventures, desperately trying to reach a ham house. Ham like ham, but it's not named after pork. It's ham like, you know, like Nottingham or Buckingham. I think it's probably an old term for village or village on the riverside or something like that. We have a lot of places in England that finish by ham. So nothing to do with pork pies or sandwiches. Let's see what time it is. 5 minutes to go. I think this is part of the German school on both sides of me. Well, we never know. We'll try to go on the riverside. That'll be cool. Even if I have to step into water, I'll just have to be careful not to slip, because I don't want to get everything broken. Look, the good gimbal on the phone. But yeah, the tide has gone on very, very quickly. I think the high tide was 4:30, so now it should be going down anyway. Squirrel friend, did you see him? He just crossed quite quickly. Okay, let me see what time it is. Oops. 4 minutes to go. 4 minutes to go before we officially get started. Is the floodwater salty? I've not licked it, Lynn. But yeah, I would assume so. There's a little bit of salt in the River Thames. You know, some species are actually semi-marine. We've got some crabs and seahorses, and well, all the way till I've actually even seen seals by the Tower Bridge. So yeah, it's probably a little bit salty. It is only tidal until Teddington, so that's not far from here. After Teddington, it's no longer tidal, because they have a lock there, and after that it's same level at all hour. Right, let me flip that around, because my top is white and I don't see the chat very well on a white top.
You hear people running and screaming and guns going off.
I'll be kill. Hope we're not gonna lose the signal in here, because it's quite tiny, quite atmospheric actually, a bit scary. And after this, it's gonna be the moment of truth. Because if I can take a left after the little tunnel, then we can go on the riverside for a little while. 45 minutes ago, it was completely impossible, but it's gone down so quickly, we might be able to. Let's see. You think we're approaching civilization? Not quite yet, but we'll see civilization in the distance. Okay, let me see what time it is. 2 minutes to go, guys, 2 minutes. It doesn't really make any difference, but it's just that I don't want to say anything too interesting for the next 2 minutes before it's officially time to go. Right, let's see. So that road was completely flooded earlier. If it's no longer too flooded, we can go on the riverside. If we cannot go on the riverside at all, we can always come back here and cross the green here and go and see the cows. But let's see, if we can go on the riverside, even if I have to walk into 20 centimeters of water, that'll be nice. Hi Caroline, and welcome everyone that I've not greeted yet. Oh yes, it's much better. Earlier, those cars on my left, they were in the water. So let's see, we might be able to walk it. Yoo-hoo! We still won't see Ham House, but at least we can be on the riverside for a little while. If anyone was completely new to me, by the way, live today or in the replay in the next few weeks or months, if any of you were wondering, how do I catch those live as they are live? I know a lot of people watch the replay. If you wanted to catch the live as they are live, the best thing to do is to subscribe to the channel and then hit the little notification thing for everything. This way you should get a notification when I go live. And this is not looking too bad, guys. We might be able to walk on the towpath. Well, let's not get too excited. I think I can see some ducks a bit too close to us. But those cars were completely flooded 45 minutes ago. And what time is it? It is officially time to... So welcome everyone, welcome to Richmond. It's gonna be a little bit of a funny one today because I've had to change the route quite a few times. Hopefully the internet are not on our side. And it looks okay. Yes, let's do this. Right, let's flip this camera around and let's go. It's almost dry. This is unbelievable. It was so wet earlier. That changes so quickly. Wow. Uh-oh. I've just lost you for a sec, but I think we're back on now. Look at that. Amazing. It's all dried up. Let me show you the view. So the street is still flooded here, but the towpath is all dried up. This is amazing. You should have seen it an hour ago. It was like a meter high. Right, so I wanted to start on this side to show you the most haunted building in the National Trust. Let me show you a photo, because despite trying really hard, I couldn't access the building with the flood. But let me show you. This is the beautiful Ham House. It was built as a stately home. It dates back to 1610, and it is, today you can visit it. It's run by the National Trust. And let me remove the photo. I'll have to be very careful when I do that. There we go. Oh, look, they're elaborating the field with the horses there. That's cool. So the building was built for a chap called William Murray. He was a friend of Charles I, a friend, like a school friend. Now, you might have heard of weeping boys. They actually are debatable. Some historians believe that they never existed, but it is little children. If they misbehaved, you couldn't punish them. I mean, not physical punishment, because you couldn't you couldn't even touch a king or a future king. So they had a friend of theirs that were meant to be whipped for them. So if little Charles misbehaved, the little William would be whipped instead. Again, some historians disagree. And then as he grew up, he was a great friend of the king. He was his groom of the bedchambers, potentially even groom of the stool, you know, the gentleman that washed the king's bottom after a poo. And so great friend of the king, but of course we know what Charles II, Charles I got up to. He annoyed Parliament, and we had a civil war with the parliamentarians. See the large building in the distance? This is the Star and Gather. It was built for the wounded soldiers as a home. Now it's a new property development that bought it over recently, but beautiful building with an amazing view. Anyway, so Charles II was of course executed. William Murray, as a royalist, his position was not great because, of course, under the time of Oliver Cromwell, a lot of the royalists they had to run away or leave their properties and stuff. They might have been Ham House might have been able to stay in the possession, I should say, of the family, thanks to his daughter Elizabeth Murray, the future Duchess of Lauderdale. She was potentially the mistress of Oliver Cromwell. Well, we don't know for sure, but she definitely had a way to keep him agreeable. The both of them might have actually been spies, royalist spies, and actually they were accused of being double agents. See, we've got some cows as well straight ahead. And Elizabeth Murray, she was first married. I think she was first the Countess of Dysart. Her husband died in Paris. Then she could marry the Duke of Lauderdale. And Elizabeth Murray, she's still hunting Ham House. There are allegedly 16 ghosts in Ham House. Some of them might actually be the same ghost, witnessed a few times at different places, but Elizabeth Murray is definitely one of them. The story behind her ghost started in Victorian times. Allegedly, there was a butler that had a 6-year-old daughter, and she came on visit. So she was given a bedroom. There's no, just take that story with a pinch of salt. Thank you, Linda. Take that story with a pinch of salt, because there's no evidence that there was ever a butler that allegedly was sleeping in that bedroom. When she woke up, and there was an old lady sat on the floor, scratching the wall and scratching and scratching. And the little girl, of course, was ever so scared. She hid under the blankets, and she could still hear the scratching. So eventually she popped her head out, and she could see the old lady on the floor staring at her. And eventually she screamed and screamed. So people came to her rescue. No one else saw the ghost, but the next morning, would you believe, hidden in the wall, they found papers that proved that Elizabeth, the Duchess of Lauderdale, had murdered her husband, her first husband, so she could then marry the Duke of Lauderdale. Now, I mean, I like that story, I like to tell you the story, but I don't know why any murderers would keep paper evidence of their poisoning. And the guy didn't even die in Ham House, he died in Paris. One might argue that it could be slow poisoning, but why would you keep evidence hidden in the walls? Who knows? So that ghost has been seen by the little girl, but she's also been heard. Apparently towards the end of her life, she had a cane, and she was, you know, you'd hear the tapping of the cane on the floor. Aisha's, and apparently the tapping has been heard ever since. But there's another resident much later on that also had a cane, the Earl of Dysart, so it could also be his ghost. Now there's also another ghost, a dog, a spaniel, King Charles spaniel. That ghost has been seen a few times, and apparently once it caused trouble, because one lady came to visit and she was told that dogs were not allowed. So she was upset that she couldn't bring her dog with her. And then inside of the building she saw a dog. So she complained to the staff, why is there a dog when I'm not allowed to bring my dog? And the staff had to explain, no, this is a ghostly dog you've seen. Don't worry, you're not the only one. Now there's a couple more sightings of different ghosts. There's a lady, Charlotte Walpole, the Countess of Dysart, that is allegedly sometimes seen waving at the window. And there's also a young man in the late 18th century that fell in love with a lady above his station, and she rejected him. Apparently he engraved his name in the window. I've not been inside, but apparently you can still see it today, and jumped off. His ghost is said to be still haunting the building today, or the gardens. For some of you that are on my Facebook group, where I took the photo earlier, it was here. So you had at least 50 centimeters of water here. So it goes very, very quickly. Also RV. And so that was for the beautiful Ham House. And today you can visit it. I've never been, but that's something I do want to do one day. Go and see the inside. Now let's go up the terrace. So you're probably gonna hear me huffing and puffing a bit, but it wasn't the plan. I was planning by Richmond Bridge in Richmond, one of which I think it's cursed. I think some people do not want me to tell you the story. No, the signal is back, so let's try again. So yeah, the signal cut in Barnes as well. So if it doesn't work today, if we have any trying to stop me from telling a murder story. Some of you might remember, there was basically 1878. There was a young porter, a coal porter, on his home delivery, when he spotted a big case in the riverbed on the shores, a big case, like a box, and he thought it might be the proceeds of a burglary. So he decided to go and open the box. Him and his colleague, it was two of them. Oh, let me cross while we can. And as they opened the box, they found a lot of packages of meat, individually wrapped in some kind of brown paper, big pieces of meat. One of them was like, oh, don't worry, it's probably from a butcher. The other one was not so sure, because you know well, let's say that the pieces of flesh looked a bit too familiar. So they decided to go and tell the police, just to be sure. And as the police came to inspect the box, it was very clearly human. It was nearly a full body. Well, they were missing quite a few bones. They were missing a foot. The other one was there. She didn't even. There was no space in the box. So the second foot was actually found in Twickenham, on the other side of the river. No head, though. So it was clearly a murder victim. But at the time, they didn't know where to start. No one had been declared missing yet. And they called it the Barnes mystery because the case was found in Barnes. So it's a couple of bridges down from here, downriver. So it would make sense. And that was it for now. Now they fairly quickly realized where the body might come from. There was a lady called Kate Webster. And she was originally from Ireland. She was a servant. Well, a servant. She was a petty criminal, really. She was from a decent family, but she always had a nasty side of her. Sorry, I'm just breathing heavily, but it's a big hill. And she had left Ireland. She bought a ticket to Liverpool, where she started pickpocketing. She moved to Hammersmith, so on the other side of the river. She potentially became a sex worker at that point. We don't know for sure. You know, people always tend to accuse ladies of selling their bodies, but she probably did. She had a little boy that was, at the time of the event, 5 years old. She didn't know who the dad was. She claimed that 5 different men might have been the dad. And eventually she found a job in service here in Richmond with a lady called Mrs. Thomas. Mrs. Thomas was an older lady living alone, widowed probably. And as she started the job for Mrs. Thomas, it did not go down well. The two ladies did not get along. According to Kate, Mrs. Thomas was always telling her to clean again, that she didn't clean properly, that she wasn't doing her job properly, and that she was a bit of a bully with her. Which, to be fair, might be partially true, because Mrs. Thomas had gone through quite a few servants in the past few weeks and months, so she might not have been the best of employers. And they lived, it's actually just a few streets away. I'll show you the video in a moment, because I wasn't planning to come here, because I wanted to take you to Ham House. But it's basically just behind those buildings in the streets at the back. We actually have 3 different murder locations that are literally 200 yards from one another. So, in a very posh area, but with some dark history. Anyway, so Mrs. Thomas was not satisfied with her staff. So she sacked Kate. And Kate begged her to stay for another couple of weeks. She just begged her, so eventually Mrs. Thomas said okay. But Mrs. Thomas, that was a regular at church, she had started to feel a little bit uncomfortable with Kate. She was a bit scared, really. And let's have a little breathe up there. And yes, we've made it. So she started to ask people at church if they would want to come and spend a few days with her, because she did not want to be alone with Kate. Anyway, get ready for the view. This is the view. That's the money shot. So we are at the terrace up on Richmond Terrace. So that's the beautiful view on the river. It's very green because it's part of the London green belt. You know, we've got this belt of green that is not meant to be too built on the outskirts of London. We are just about 14 miles from Charing Cross. So yes, so clearly Mrs. Thomas did not feel very comfortable being left alone with Kate, but no one from church agreed on the invite, so they were still left alone. And then she did not come back to church. Now I'll show you the church towards the end of the tour, because it's actually quite a cool building. It's been transformed into flats. Now you might spot a few chimps that look a little bit familiar. Some of you might remember the chimps from Gillian Mark that were on the South Bank 2 years ago. We did do a tour there ourselves. They are here now in Richmond. Hello. Just gonna wait for the little one to go. I don't want to be filming kids. Hello. There we go. So if you remember, we talked about those chimps a couple of years ago. Each of them are representing a human emotion or a human action. Do you remember? This one is called Esme, 47 years old. They do exist. They all exist. Not the thinker, Tish. What is Esme doing? Look at her expression. It's a hard one, but you might remember. So she's thinking, but it's not a happy thinking. What is she doing? Any guesses? What human behavior is highlighted here? You might remember we followed all of them in on the South Bank a couple of years ago. Brooding, I don't know what that means down. Remorse, no. Well, you're not too far. It's not remorse, but she's grieving. So yeah, she's missing someone. She's grieving someone. Oh, thinking about a partner. Well, probably your partner passed away. Yes, Herbie, well done. You got it. Yeah. Sorry, I probably said it a bit too early. The chat is always about 30 seconds delayed. But yeah, well done. So I'm just going to try to avoid the kids. And yeah, back to Mrs. Thomas. So she's not been seen at church again. Now, at that point, Kate went to see some friends she had in Hammersmith. She came, she was well dressed, and she had a black bag with her, a big black canvas bag. And her friends hardly recognized her. She said she was now Mrs. Thomas. She said she had married a wealthy gentleman that had passed away. She came into a bit of an inheritance, and she was now Mrs. Thomas. She had some tea, and she asked them if they knew a broker, because she had a lot of furniture she wanted to sell. They said yes, they did. So she left with the young men of the family. Together they went down to Richmond, so they crossed over the bridge. And they went first into a pub, they had a drink, and then Kate is like, oh, give me 20 minutes, I'll be back. She went for 20 minutes and she came back without the bag. Little did the guy know, but in that bag was Mrs. Thomas' head. So she had somehow, through those 20 minutes, disposed of the head. We don't know where. Well, we do now, but that's coming up in the story. And then she used the young man to go to the place to bring a big case, a big box. She said to him she needed help to carry it down to Richmond Bridge, where she was going to meet a friend that would collect the case from her. So the young man helped her, and as they're walking down the bridge towards Twickenham, she said to him, "You go ahead, I'll meet the friend and I'll come and meet you." And as the young man goes ahead, he heard a big splash. He looked into the river, didn't see anything special, and she then followed him. She said, "Yeah, I've given the case to my friend, we're all good to go, let's go to the pub." So they ended up drinking rum until midnight. Little did he know that she had just dumped a dead body in the river. And after that, the guy came to buy all the furniture. So you had those two removal guys, and Kate is there. She's again being introduced as Mrs. Thomas. And then the landlady, she was done all her furniture, furniture's being removed. So addressing Kate, that was known as Mrs. Thomas, she said in front of the moving delivery guys, where is Mrs. Thomas? So then Kate, that was known as Mrs. Thomas, said, I don't know. So that would have been very suspicious for the guy's removal as well. And then the landlady, the neighbor, was like, well, I'll make sure I'll inquire more about that. And she went back into her place. Now, Kate panicked. She knew she was very, very close to being caught. So she decided to cut her losses and go. So she actually went and grabbed all the money she had, and she left to go back to Ireland. Big mistake, because she had not removed any of the evidence. And when the police decided to inspect the building, they found a letter from with the return address. I've lost you for a sec, so I'm just gonna wait until the signal comes back. Hopefully soon. Let's make a move. I'm not gonna say anything interesting until I can see that you are back. Hopefully soon. I do apologize. It's so unpredictable, the signal. We were good here earlier, but I guess it's just a lot of people coming to watch the sunset. Hopefully we'll be back in a second. Oh, you're here? Oh, it's telling me transmission is... Okay, well, I'll keep going. Then did you miss anything? Well, I'll just go back in the story. That's weird, it's telling me it's bad. It's okay, good. So yeah, Kate panicked, decided to cut her losses, and she decided to run back to Ireland. Sadly, she didn't take time to remove the evidence, and the police found a letter that came from her uncle, so they had the return address in Ireland. And a masterclass of incompetent murderers. Yes, exactly, Susan. When they inspected the home, not only did they find the letter, but they also found jars of human fat. By the way, some people had told, at the time, they had told the police that she had been seen at the pub next to her place, known as the Hole in the Wall, and she had been offering people jars of her best dripping. We don't know whether that is true, but the police did find some jars of human drippings in her place. So that's how the press kind of called her the Lady Sweeney Todd. Because I think that murder really became such an infamous murder, not because of the decapitation and all that, but because she was a lady. You know, at the time, ladies were meant to be gracious and almost, they were almost meant to have a better moral compass than the men. So it was very shocking that a lady would do that. So they also found a lot of bones in the fireplace, and they also found traces of blood under the floor thingy. So there was absolutely no doubt that Kate was guilty. She was caught in Ireland. She tried to claim that it wasn't her, it was a friend of hers. The guy was arrested just in case, and he did have some items that belonged to Mrs. Thomas, but it's because she gave it to him. And he was then he was acquitted. He was removed from the inquiry. She then tried to claim she was pregnant to avoid being hanged, but eventually there was a bit too much evidence. She was hanged at. Now, would you believe this is not the end of the story? On 9, a gentleman that you might have heard of, David Attenborough, the broadcaster, he decided to purchase the former pub that was next to his property. Some young men that wanted to do some gestures on camera. So the David Attenborough. Let me show you the property. I'll show you a little video of the property. Where are we? Bear with me so I don't show you the wrong one. It's this one. So this is the street. It's just behind us, not too far. So the brick there behind the tree, that's where she lived. The blue building, I think that's David Attenborough's building, and the one to the right, that's the former pub. So that used to be the hole in the wall. So that's the property that David Attenborough bought. And as he was doing some refurbishment in his new back garden in the former pub, he found the skull. Let me remove the video again. I'm trying to be very careful not to do anything wrong, because sometimes we have a little bug and we lose the chat. No, we're all good. So yeah, they found the skull. And after was indeed the skull of Mrs. Julia Thomas. There was evidence that the skull had been boiled, and we know that that's exactly what Kate did to her poor victim, and they concluded that it was indeed the head that was found over a century later, really. So that day, when Kate was at a different pub, she told her friend to wait. She went to dispose of the bag in the back garden of that pub and went back like, nothing happens. She went to have tea and she had a head with her. I mean, the nerves. She's got balls. Bear with me. I'm just going to try to put my trousers back down on my legs, because I had lifted them up to go into the river. Now I look a bit funny, so I'm just going to... There we go. Oh, thank you very much, Linda. That's very much appreciated. Right, let's go into town. I don't want to go too quickly. Downtown, I'm not sure the signal is great. So we have 3 murders in that area just behind me that are very close to one another. There's another one. It's the story of Maurice Tribe. It's this beautiful building that used to be the home of Naomi Tribe, that had become Mrs. Dancy. She had married the doctor John Dancy. They were quite wealthy. I'll just remove the photo for now. Yep. And both of them were doctors. She was a surgeon, would you believe? She worked at, at first she worked at Great Osmond Child Hospital. That was really rare for a lady to be a surgeon at the time. And her husband was a doctor as well, so they had money, they had a beautiful home. John had served through the First World War, and so did Naomi's brother. His name was Maurice Tribe. He had been a soldier through the First World War, and he had been extremely brave. He had tried to rescue some soldiers in the Somme, and doing that, he was injured. He lost an eye, actually. So he lost an eye, and after the war, he started to have some problems with alcohol, and he also started to slowly lose the eyesight of his second eye. So that's quite sad. And he started to become a little bit jealous of his sister, because his sister Naomi, she was a very successful doctor. She had 2 beautiful eyes and 3 beautiful children, an amazing home here in Richmond. And his mental health was not great, and he had started to talk about taking his own life, or alternatively of talking about taking his sister's life. They were hoping it was not serious, of course, just mental health crisis. And he had, on top of that, he had an accident in central London. He was run over by a car, and sadly his knees were now bad. And because his knees were so bad, he came to stay at his sister's for a little while. John Dancy was not exactly very excited about it, but he agreed for him to come and stay, so they could, the doctors, the both of them, could take care of his knees. And Dancy apparently was very suspicious with the young man, so he would never go to bed before him. And one particular evening, Dancy is still doing some writing. He's waiting until his brother-in-law goes to bed because he's a bit worried that he might do something to his wife. And the brother tribe kept going to the toilets and back out. Bear in mind, he was limping around. His knees were really bad and he's half blind. And so the toilets were actually linked to Naomi's bedroom. There was a double doors, one to the bedroom, one to the corridors. He heard a double gunshot. So he ran into the corridor and then he saw his brother-in-law coming out with a gun, still smoking. It was his. Apparently, Dancy then managed to turn the light off, knowing the attacker is half blind, and then Maurice shot. Dancy pretended to fall, and he groaned. So he basically pretended to be dead. He managed to fox his brother-in-law. Then Maurice locked himself into the bathroom, and his wife to see what he had done to his wife. She had been shot in both eyes. I've lost you again. I'm just gonna wait until it's telling me the transmission is bad, so I'm just gonna wait. Cool, we should be back. So yeah, Dancy ran to his wife's bedroom to see what had been done to her. She had been shot in both eyes. So her brother had shot her in her first eye and her second eye, probably because he was jealous, probably because he had... Oh, you're still here? Okay, so the app is lying to me then. So very, very sad. And then at that point, Dancy took his courage and he forced the bedroom door, the bathroom door. So he broke the door to see what Maurice was doing in the bathroom. And he had, then Dancy removed the blades from Maurice's hand. And then he realized, he was like, what am I doing? So he put it back. Then he called the police, but 15 minutes later. Why? We don't know. When the police arrived, they were a bit, well, let's say that they were a little bit suspicious with Dancy, because the guy was quite proud of the way he avoided being shot. He was quite proud of the way he pretended to be injured and turned the light off and all that. So the police found it a little bit suspicious, but on the other hand, there was a lot of evidence against Maurice. The autopsy did show that Maurice supposedly had taken his own life. Now, there was an inquest. They concluded that it was murder, attempted murder, and then suicide. The police had to admit that it's probably what happened. But after that, there were a lot of people that were actually very suspicious with Dancy. Hundreds of people were not. Hundreds of people were completely very supportive. Naomi, because she was a very popular doctor, she had worked with kids for the council and all that. But some people wrote to the police and to the newspaper that Dancy might have been the guilty man. Because really, all they knew came from Dancy. What if he had murdered his own wife and brother-in-law to get the life insurance? Because there had been a new life insurance that had just been signed on Naomi's life. We'll never know. Dancy lived in the property. He moved to Bournemouth, where he... Now, Richmond is also known for Richmond Park. That's where you can see some deers. So a lot of Londoners would come down here to have a little walk and see some deers. And sadly, we also had a couple of murders in Richmond Park. The first one was in 1927. Let's take a look at the letterbox. This looks like it could be the 7th. Edward the 7th. And it's telling me I've lost you again, so I'm just gonna wait for a second. I know it might be lying to me, but if I've lost you, I don't want to say anything interesting. Just gonna wait. It's telling me I've lost you. We should be back. Right, so yeah, we had two. No, it's telling me I've lost you again. Let me know in the chat if it is true. Is it, if it's going on and off? You're here? Okay, cool. So I'll keep going then. Weird, why is it telling me that then? So yeah, first murder, 1929. A very sad story. There was a lady called Connie, Constance, I think her full name was. She was from Falcon Road in Battersea. She was very much in love with him. His name was Bernard Gulter, and she wanted to marry him. They had been courting one another for a few days or maybe a few weeks. Down here, that's where you have Richmond Bridge. That's where Kate dropped the body, but that's where the signal is not great on the bridge, so we're not gonna go. It's one of the oldest bridges in London still in position, Richmond Bridge. It's from the late 18th century. Oh, it's going on and off for you, Aline. Well, let's stop for the stories for now. Then, once it's good again, I'll tell you about the murders, because I know it's annoying when you miss half of the information. So let's stop for the stories for now, and we'll just chit chat until the signal is back to being good. It's a bit annoying because it's very difficult for me to check the signal in advance. What I do is I usually walk around the streets and I look at YouTube shorts, and when the shorts they load properly, then the signal is good. If they don't load properly, the signal is bad. On and off. Yeah, I do apologize. So what we'll do is I'll say nothing of interest until it's back, because I know when you have a story that is kind of cut in the middle. It's steady now. Okay, I'll just wait and see if it does last. So, because I know it's a bit, it's a perfect, good. So yes, so that lady Connie, she had met that guy called Bernard. She didn't know him very well because the guy actually had a very odd personality. He had already had troubles with the police. He had been impersonating a police officer before and tried to get some money from people. And he had so he had a past. He was not a great man. And so he met up with Connie a few nights, and that particular night she was meant to meet him at 7:30. She told her dad. Her dad was well aware that she was dating someone, and so she goes to meet him at 7:30 at Putney Station. She never came back. Her dad was very worried on the night because she would usually be back before 10. He went to bed. The next day she didn't turn up at work, so she was reported as missing the next day. And sorry, I'm just laughing because I'm getting some very funny looks. Some people have never seen a streamer in their life. So she was, and it's bad because I'm talking about someone missing and I'm smiling at the same time. But yeah, I don't want to put people on camera, of course, but you should have seen the funny looks I get. Anyway, so back to the story. So yeah, she's not seen again. She was reported missing, and 2 days later, her sister Anne, so Connie's sister, ran into Bernard on Walrus Road. So she was like, hey, have you seen Connie? Bernard is like, no, and I don't want to. And the sister insisted. She's like, but you're the last one that saw her. You're the last one that was meant to meet her at 7:30 at Putney that night. And he said, yes, she never turned up. I waited until 8, and then I went back to my mother's. He almost looked upset that she dared ask him about Connie. We don't know if the sister was satisfied with the answer at that point, but nothing else she could do. Sadly, the next morning, one of the park rangers or employee had a terrible discovery in the park closer to Richmond Gate. He found Connie's body. She had been brutally attacked. Part of her body was exposed. So of course Bernard was arrested. At first he denied, but then he eventually confessed and was hanged. Now let's try to. This is the area where I'm not sure the signal will hold, so I'm gonna stop the stories for now. I do want to try to show you because it's the cutest area, but I'm not sure about the signal, so let's try. Very soon. And straight down this way, we're not gonna. And straight down this way, we're not gonna go, but that's where they go down this way. Henry VII. And there's hardly anything. 8 liked to I think I'm gonna again. I'm just gonna wait. Apologies about the signal. It's just on and off. I don't know if you've heard anything about the palace. So on my left, on the other side of the green, that's where you had. On my left, on the other side of the green, that's where you had Richmond Old Palace. There's hardly anything left of it today, but that was an old palace. His old wife, so his ex-wives. Anne of Cleve lived there for a while, and Catherine of Aragon as well for a little while. And it was renamed, so it used to be the Manor of Sheen. Apologies if you are actually here, but I'm gonna wait until it's telling me it's good. Sorry about the signal. I did expect it to go a bit funny down there, but it was meant to be good here. You never know what to expect with the gods of the internet, really. And we should hopefully come back eventually. Let me know. Oh, you're still here? Okay. Oh, okay. This is so weird. It's telling me it's bad when it's actually okay. I never know what to trust. Okay, so Richmond Palace, that's where Queen Elizabeth I passed away. Queen Elizabeth I, Richmond Palace was known to be quite warm, so she decided, as her health deteriorated, to stay here. And it is said that when she was really dying, when she was unwell, she refused to go into her bed. She was actually sat on the floor on cushions, and eventually when she went to bed, she never rose again. But as she's on her bed dying, it is said, again, we don't know if the story is true. Let's take a look at the letterbox. GR, so that's George IV. So that's quite an old one. So, yeah, allegedly, as the Queen is in bed, dying, she's not dead yet, she's just dying. There's one of her ladies in waiting, Lady Guilford, we think, that decided to use the opportunity. The Queen was sleeping, she was unconscious. So apparently Lady Guilford decided to sneak out for a few moments. The Queen will never know, she's sleeping anyway, to go back towards her own apartment. And apparently stood there looking very unimpressed. And of course, the Queen couldn't be there. She was on her bed. Again, we don't know if the story is true, but apparently this is a phenomenon, a paranormal. Well, there have been a few sightings of. I've lost you again, or at least it's telling me so. So apparently, there's been a few sightings of people that were seen elsewhere, away from their bodies, as they were dying. So astral traveling, it is known as. Personally, I had never heard of it. I had heard of the other way around. Someone that, are you hearing me double? It's common to have people dying, seeing people that are dead, but people dying, you know, who knows? Anyway. Now let me show you the church. You know, earlier when we were talking about Mrs. Thomas, I told you she was a regular at church. Well, this is the church. It was, you can see the balcony on the side. So it's, right, according to the app we are back. Well, Monet, the signal keeps going. Oh, I'm sorry. Hopefully it'll be better on this side. It's so unpredictable. I'll wait until it's good to tell you the next stories. Oh no, they're not dry at all, my feet, Susan. They're still very wet. Every time I walk, I can hear a mini splash. But you know, it was my choice. I'm the one that stepped into it. To show you Ham House, but hey ho. If I do a tour here again, I might show you the murder properties instead of Ham House. Anyway, there are a couple more murders I want to tell you about, but first let's go and see the chimp. There's another chimp here. Oh, they've given him a thing like if he was begging. What does he say? Money for the monkey, and people actually did give money. That's very new, that wasn't here earlier. They must have put it in the last hour or so. So this one is illustrating bipedal walking. And let me show you a letterbox here. That's quite an unusual design. We don't see them that often. So that's E2R Elizabeth II Regina. I saw a very ugly letterbox earlier when I cycled here on my way in Sheen. There was a pillar box. I had never seen one like that before. Like a cubic pillar, very ugly. Not very old, E2R as well, but I had never seen any like that. Anyway, I was gonna tell you there was a second murder in Richmond Park, just 3.5 years after the first one. It was also a couple, but although there were some similarities, it's a very different story. It was a young couple walking in the park as well. Well, not that young. They were both of them were working at a hotel called the Alexandra Hotel, but they had just been fired because of impropriety. You know, they had been caught. I think she was in his bedroom or the other way around, and the lady did not like that. You know, you were not meant to have this type of behavior on the job. So the both of them were fired, and the young man was called William Baldwin, and his girlfriend was Sarah. One night, he steps into Kingston police station at 1:14 a.m. and he said to the police officers, "I've done a girl. I've killed a girl. I've killed her in the park." And he actually said, "I'm not like Goulter." So Goulter, remember, it's the murder that happened before. Oh, look, I didn't notice this one. We have one of those milestones. So we are 13 miles from Hyde Park Corner. That's quite a distance. That's why it's going to take me at least an hour to cycle home. It's quite a distance. Anyway, so back to our murder. So he gave himself in at the police station. He said to them he had strangled her, but he said it was not murder, it was a suicide pact. Now, it didn't make a difference, because if there was a suicide pact at the time, the one that survived was going to go down for murder anyway. So we'll never really know what happened. He was definitely dating the Sarah lady. They went into London, they spent £2. They realized they were penniless and jobless. William was already considering claiming his own life, and he claimed to the police that she was feeling the same way. So he decided to kill her first, and then he would do himself. Now, I don't know how he would have done himself, because they're just walking in a park with no weapons. Yes, you can strangle your girlfriend, but how would he have done himself? We'll never know. He was actually reprieved, and he went down for penal servitude for the rest of his life, but he did not hang. You missed the monkey business. Well, I don't think we have any more monkeys now. It was the last one. Can you hear the bell? Now there's one more murder case in Richmond that is quite infamous. It is Dr. Smethurst. He had lived, that's when the signal cut earlier, so I didn't tell you, but he had also lived on the little corner next to the Ted Lasso filming location. Dr. Smethurst was an interesting gentleman. He had graduated as a doctor with great difficulty. He had actually failed twice. Some say that he actually bought his degree. We'll never know. Then he had a fairly successful career. He was into hydrotherapy. That was quite new in the 1850s. And when he was 23, he married a lady that was 42. So nearly 20 years her senior, his senior. She was a lady of independent means. So did he marry her for money? We don't know. Apparently they had a fairly happy marriage. And sadly, as she grew older, he probably didn't fancy her that much, because they lived in Bayswater at the time with another lady, Miss Isabella Banks, Smethurst and Isabella started an affair. The landlady actually kicked them out because they didn't want any type of unmarried businesses in there. And then he went to a church in Battersea and he married Isabella. He's still married to his first wife, Mary. She's 63 at the time, so she's probably not gonna live much younger, much later, but she's very much still alive, and they're still married. So this is bigamy. And apparently, though, his wife is aware that he's now with Isabella, and they got married illegally. It's probably because the cost of a divorce would have been a little bit too much. And Isabella, so the second wife, she's not very well. She apparently from day one suffered from diarrhea and vomiting, and they moved in together, but she's very unwell. The diarrhea never stops. Smethurst, he was a doctor himself, but he had retired by then, so he invited a few doctors, including Dr. Julius, to look after his new wife. By the end, she was very unwell. She was not able to speak anymore. He was quite arrogant, apparently. Dr. Julius did not like Smethurst. And at the end, Isabella's sister wanted to come and visit, but he didn't let her see her because she was too unwell. Then Isabella died, but before she died, they had gone to finish her will, giving everything apart from a brooch to Smethurst. It wasn't much money, and most of the money was tied into a mortgage anyway. After she died, Dr. Julius decided to accuse Smethurst of poisoning. Now, doctors at the time had quite a bad reputation already, because you had the case of Dr. Palmer just a few years earlier. Palmer was a doctor in Rugeley in Staffordshire that had murdered, well, pretty much all his family. He got caught for the murder of his friend, but he had killed his wife, potentially a few of his children, another friend before that. So, you know, the public opinion on doctors might have been a bit low at the time of Smethurst. So they autopsied Isabella. They could not find evidence of poisoning. Her balls on her stomach were inflamed, that's for sure. So that could have been the result of a poisoning, you know, arsenic or strychnine or anything like that. But they couldn't find, they found tiny little traces of arsenic. But remember, at the time, the Victorian pharmacy was full of poisons. So they couldn't really prove it. He was tried though. The doctor was taken to the Old Baileys and they found him guilty. Because of the bigamy, because of the new will, giving all our money to him, there were some people defending him. There were some people completely against him, including a guy you might have heard of, Mr. Charles Dickens. Dickens, for some reason, was convinced that Smethurst was guilty. So he was sentenced to hang, but eventually some people told Queen Victoria to consider a pardon, and he was pardoned. So he was pardoned for that, but then he had to go back to the Old Bailey to be tried for bigamy, because that he definitely did. So he was sentenced to 12 months in prison. Then he came out, he didn't work again, he went back to his old wife. Somehow he managed to convince her to take him back. And she died, then he inherited her fortune, so he cashed into more money. And is it buffering now? Oh, it's not telling me that. Oh. So then now he's in his 60s. He then remarried a young girl that was in her 20s. So they lived happily ever after. Was he guilty? Was he not? We'll probably never know. Probably not, because all of the symptoms she was suffering from do kind of look similar to Crohn's disease. So she might have just died of natural causes, and because of the suspicion on the doctors at the time, and because of the bigamy, and because of his odd behavior, he might have been wrongly accused. We'll never know. Anyway, one last little story before we go. There was another murder on this street here. It's in 1906. It's the gentleman, a gentleman that was from Germany originally, known as Karl Reynolds. He worked as a bartender, so not a very glamorous job, in a hotel called Hotel Cecil. Every time I say the Hotel Cecil, it makes me think of the Cecil Hotel in you know, the horrible case in California with the girl very scared in a lift and stuff. Anyway, not that Hotel Cecil, but a different Hotel Cecil. And he was a swimmer. He was a great swimmer. He had already been in the newspaper a few times because he swam in 5 hours from Charing Cross to Gravesend in Kent. He had tried to cross over organized a few swim in Kent as well, from Ramsgate to, I think, Rochester or whatever. So he had been quite well known in the news, but professionally he was just a bartender, and he actually got fired. So as he lost his job, he decided to move with his uncle here at number 14 Salisbury Street. I'm not going to stay too long in front of their home, because if they don't know there was a murder in there, they probably don't need to know. So he moved in here with his uncle and the uncle's wife and their daughter. Apparently he was quite keen on their young daughter, and the young couple was courting for a while. She was into him as well. They were writing great letters, and he was under the impression that they were engaged. Now, Alma, so that's do that, is prospect of sacked, and he's not even that great of a swimmer. He failed crossing the channel. You shouldn't marry him. So she decided her mother was right, and she dumped him. Well, he did not take it. He did not take it right. He actually wrote a letter to the Daily Mirror, the same newspaper that used to publish his exploit as a swimmer. He said to the newspaper that he was gonna kill his young lover because she had turned him down, and then he was gonna kill himself. He would have killed the mother as well, he said, but he believed it was better to let her see the misery she's caused. So one day he came over here. He knocked at the door at number 14. He asked the mother permission to see Alma. She said yes. She had nothing to fear from the young man. Sadly, she said yes. So he went and saw his former lover. He shot her and then shot himself. So very, very sad story. And the newspaper that used to publish his exploit, they were now publishing I think there's something funny with the app, because the number of people in the tour has not changed once since day one. That's quite unusual. I think there's a little bug in there. Anyway, so yeah, the Daily Mirror was not publishing the letter. So the very letter he sent to the newspaper, allegedly from the cane sugar from America. In Sheen, that on and off. Sorry about that. I don't know if it's just because the streets are busy. I don't know when you lost me, so I don't know. I don't know what I should repeat. Anyway, it's gonna be the end of the tour. For cakes. Thank you very much for coming today, guys. I do apologize for the signal issues. Thank you for sticking with me, though. It's always great to have you along. Let me know in the chat if you have any questions about anything before we go. If not, keep a look at my next tours. I've got quite a few scheduled. Next week we're going back to the Dockland area. So we're going back to the Isle of Wight. And next month I'm taking you to Istanbul. So quite a lot to look forward to. And I'm looking forward to go home and dry my feet. They're still absolutely soaked. Yeah, it's down, but sometimes it's just a bit frustrating because we spend so much time preparing those tours, and then half of the things you don't hear anyway because the signal goes away. Anyway, thanks everyone. Thanks any of you that gave me a tip as well. It's always greatly appreciated. I don't see them live, but I'll see them in my emails in a moment. If you've tipped me on buy me a coffee or on PayPal or anything like that. And see you next week, hopefully, in the docks where the signal is perfect. So at least we won't have to stress with that. And if any of you were completely new to me, if you've made it to the end of the video, if you've made it through all the signal issues, you might want to give me a little subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on the fun next time. And I'll see you soon. Have a great evening or great morning, whatever time it is for you, wherever you are in the world. Bye bye.